Don't forget to record. You are on Innervision FM. Welcome.
My God.
And that's who we love, and that's who we serve.
How dare you?
We dare. All the time and every day. We dare.
It's running out. Hi, everybody. This is the Godfather, Soul James Brown. I tell you, this business is on. My man is on. Check him out. This is the Godfather, Soul James Brown saying stay with it and hit it. Thank you, baby.
Okay. I can't believe at the last minute it says, no, it said it a few days ago. It says that you have been compromised. Change your password. I said, forget you. I haven't been compromised. So this time it says, okay, you didn't listen to me. So now you are compromised. Change your password.
Gotta love technology. It's supposed to make our lives a lot easier, and it's
Oh, man.
it's kind of not so easy anymore, boy.
Jeez. Oh,
How you
man.
doing this morning? We got Johnnie J in the house, and I'm Alan C. Johnnie J is the president of Innervision FM, and you have joined the Innervision FM universe. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, D-Live, Rumble, Getter, a number of different other platforms. Today, we're going to talk about censorship. We're going to talk about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and we're going
Yeah.
to talk about a couple of other things. Where do you want to start?
I want to talk about a story I heard this morning. Let's see if I can get focus here. It was a story I heard this morning. Oh God. Wait a minute, stop it. Okay, okay, I gotta talk about it. Do you ever get texts from people you don't know in a city that you have not been to in a long time?
Absolutely.
And they want to start up a conversation with you, and then you tell them you're married, you're not interested, and they say, "Well, it's been a long time," and they're just like persistent. Or sometimes they might call, and they don't say nothing, so you know that it's a man on the other side who's going to ask you for some money while he's pretending to be a lady.
I have a story about that. There's a lady that I know, and I used to go to church with her all the time. And, so basically what happened is she and I lost touch when I left Denver and started living off the grid. Then suddenly I got a message from this nice lady, and she was, asking certain things. How am I doing? How's things going? And I says, wow, it's really great to hear from you. I'm doing great. And she says, hey, can I call you? After the course of, a little bit of a conversation. And I said, well, sure, go ahead and give me a call. And so they went ahead and they called me on Facebook Messenger. And it was a big, gruff sounding individual. I says, we'll just use a strange name, Sylvia. Oh, Sylvia. Oh, you got a cold. You don't sound like yourself at all.
Wow.
So yes, I get those quite a bit. I get those a lot, especially after I started doing the podcast with you, Johnny. I've got to say, I'm not happy about being famous in that way.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot too. I don't know what it is, because maybe because I uploaded a picture. Maybe I should put, because on my Facebook there's a picture of me and my wife, and they still come at us. So I don't know if that would even work if I put a picture of my wife and myself up there, because I'm totally not interested. And the last time it happened, it was like maybe 15 years ago. And this online dating service, I guess they sold the ownership to somebody else that was overseas. And so they still have people in Arvada and all that kind of stuff. And so I got started to talk to this person from Arvada, and I said, I'm the kind of person, I said, I'm not gonna continue this unless I can hear your voice. And I think I might have told you this before. I called, and it's this deep African female voice. And I'm thinking like, you're not from Arvada. You could just stay out there in Africa because I'm not going to send you any money to supposedly get you back to Arvada. So just weirdness.
It's funny because there's a bunch of stuff that's going on in this country today, and it's been going on, since the beginning of time. It's called censorship, and I do wish that they would censor those folks. That would be.
Yeah. It's like the robo calls. They said that there's like thousands and thousands of robo calls, and I think I put that in the same category. Or this one, I know a guy named Samuel. No, and I think he recently died. But if he hadn't recently died, I would have thought that, well, maybe I think about this Samuel. But Samuel has a house in Littleton that has my phone number, and I get texts from these realtors or whatever saying that, are you interested in selling this house? And I got the address, and I'm thinking, I have a friend that lives out there. I'm thinking about like, should I ask her and her husband to go out there and look at my house?
Right.
Or should I go out there and knock on the door and say, hey, is there a Samuel here? And let him know what's going on. Or because I always ask him, like, could you take my name off that list that you are reading from? They don't. They just move on to the next person. And I'm just thinking, like, I would mind owning a house out in Littleton, but I don't. So
I get the same thing. I was living in Colorado Springs, and I am being inundated with emails, text messages, even phone calls to see if they want me to sell my house on blah, blah, blah drive when I lived on blah, blah, blah street as opposed to drive. You know what I'm saying? And well, number one, I was renting from an apartment complex, so I don't own any real estate. Number two, I've never lived on this place 2 blocks over on this drive that you guys are referring to. So I don't think I want to be trying to get realtors out there to sell somebody's home,
Wow. That's really wow. Oh, hey, before we get into what we're going to talk about, I just read the story this morning about this protester who was protesting that they were going to run the pipeline through, I think it was either South Dakota or North Dakota, right? And so this bank they went down to this bank, and they wanted this bank to divest in the process of running this pipeline. So he decided, the lead protester, to put some of that glue on his hand. And this is the good stuff. And so he glued his hand to the door of the bank. Oh, well, after they unstuck him and all that kind of stuff, I think they gave him a year probation, kind of like house arrest, and that he can no longer have glue outside of his house. So that's a pretty interesting sentence they gave him. But I bring up that to tell you this. I went down to Texas for my family reunion. I have this cousin who's a preacher and all that kind of stuff. And then I have some other cousins down there. And Ashton has been saying this stuff about the Black Lives Matter and the mega hats and all that kind of stuff. But I started thinking, like, maybe it's like in the Klan days, like the Democrats are putting on these robes and they would be upstanding citizens in the community, but because they put in the robes and the sheets and all that kind of stuff, you wouldn't know it. And I'm thinking, like, well, what's the difference between just putting on a mega hat, saying I am a mega person, and not really being a mega person, just giving it a bad name? So I'm trying to get somebody from Texas to come on the show and give me another side, if there is another side, of these groups harassing the protesters of Black Lives Matter whenever they do a march. Because I'm hearing Ashton, I'm hearing you, but I need to find out, is this happening in just more than one area? So I'm working on that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
we'll talk a little bit later after the show. I've got some relatives and some friends also in Texas. maybe we can get a broad base of individuals from Texas to kind of understand what's going on. And, because MAGA supporters, especially since we have been
demonized.
Demonized. Talked about the way they've been talked about. We need to come at this with truth and with facts, and we need to lower the temperature and do this in a peaceable manner. Because no matter what our thoughts are on the subject, because we support putting America first, make America great again, things like this, we have a code that we live by, and that code is always to walk in the shoes of the preparation of the gospel of peace. That's part of the armor of God. And, a lot of us are God-fearing individuals. We submit only to one thing, and that is to the Lord Jesus Christ. Trump is not our God. Trump is not our savior. None of that. But, God himself puts leaders in power, including our most popular president ever elected in American history. He is only in power because God himself allows
it. Yeah, President Trump reminds me of David and Goliath, and all these guys were this big giant was coming up to the drawing line of the battlefield, and he says, "Come on out here, you Israelites, let me rip you apart limb by limb." And then David said, "Who is this guy spewing all this stuff?" And then they try to put on this heavy helmet and the shield and all that kind of stuff, and he says, "I can't work with this." And he says, "Let me grab a rock and a string, and let me go after the swamp that way." So it reminds me of that. These guys say, "Well, we know how to fight them. Here, put on all the stuff." But he says, "No, let's not put on that stuff. Let me just be me, and let me go out and fight this Philistine."
It'd be kind of like me. I'm a small drink of water. I'm maybe 135 pounds soaking wet. So I'm a small drink of water. Pretty unassuming, not a big guy, not very muscular. I know a few things with regard to some martial arts and stuff that I've learned in the past, but by golly, there's no way that I would take up all of this armor and all of this protection and all of this stuff, even if I could, because I'm just not built that way. I am to be a peaceful guy, and I am built with an intellect, much like David was built to use a sling and to use a rock to slay Goliath, at least as the story goes within the Bible. He became king at one point as well. But he didn't start out that way. He was a servant, and he was a man after God's own heart. And that's, at the end of the day, that's where I want to be. I don't have any need to be recognized by people and by institutions as this great leader and this great anything. I'm just Alan Colvin, and that's all that I am.
And for the viewers out there, if you're watching up to this point, subscribe and like and share the show to get our reach out there. And it was this other story. I don't know if I sent it to you. It was about this about the food running low.
What I did see that, and before we get to that, I want to mention our sponsors. Chris Brothers Moving Company. They're based in Englewood, Colorado, based in Texas, also based in Arizona. So if you are ever in a place where you need to move cross country, these guys are the guys to contact. Christian Brothers Moving Company. Also, Richard Damiano out of Littleton Eye Clinic. He's a corneal transplant specialist, among other things, and they'll fix you right up. If you've got some vision issues, it's important to get that fixed. So let's see, we got the
Denver Foundation, which I'm going to apply for another grant. They just sent me a thing like grants that are due, and I said, let me go for it again. I can't apply for the same one I did the last time, but I'm going to apply for another one that they have listed there. So
you got the foundation, you got Colorado Arts Relief Fund, you've got Wells Fargo, you got Eeny Meeny Grant. We just want to shout those folks, thank you very much for your support for this particular podcast and supporting Innervision FM. And it's awesome. We want to thank you. If you want to become a sponsor, hit us up at Innervision Records. That's all one word. INNER Vision Records.org.
Yes, definitely. And I just applied to get another like grant writer. It was like $50, and so hopefully we're going to get into the $500,000 range, so I can pay a staff, and whether they live here in Denver or live elsewhere, it's just fun. I just enjoy supplying the needs of others and doing something like that. So yeah.
Before we move on, what is your mission? Your mission is what? Like
it's to work with blind, vision impaired podcasters, and also disabled and grassroots musical artists. And I've been reading this 303 magazine, and they put out a thing like what to do in the weekend. And I'm gonna grab one of our artists, and we're gonna do a fundraiser because I see that there's what's that they call them Planned Parenthood. They're doing a fundraiser. Of all places, they're doing a fundraiser in downtown Denver. I said, well, how come I should put up a thing, right to life, and have some of my artists come up and play for that fundraiser, since they have this one listed, and they always say that they're equitable magazine, and they have a diversity in writers. So let's see, because what's the guy? There was an email I have. Oh, Save the Stork. So I was thinking about doing a fundraiser for Save the Stork, and see how that goes over. But anyway, that's our mission. I know I got off into a 10 right there, but yeah.
Also, we do want to bring up react19.org. If you've gotten the vacation package and you find yourself in a situation where, there are some things that are perhaps going not the way that you'd like for them to go within your life, and you find yourself maybe a little sick, react19.org can help.
Yes, give you some good information. And also know your judge. I think it's .com.org. I'm not sure if I put that up there. Because if you have a bunch of judges on your ballot and you don't know who they are, you can go to this website, Know Your Judge. I think it's either .com, and find out who these judges are. Because I see judges all the time. I don't know who these guys are, and I just usually leave it blank because I don't know these guys.
Yeah.
So so that's another good resource for just getting to know who you're voting for, since it's coming out. And tomorrow, it was 1,062 people that voted for me to get into the where I'm running for HD5. And
wow! Congratulations.
So, supposedly, I paid for the service to send out 50,000 emails. Now, I don't know if they're blowing smoke or not, but I've been going to some meetings, and there's been a lot of Democrats in my district and stuff like that. And no one has got my email. So I'm kind of figuring, like, are they blowing smoke? And I would love to meet these I would love to meet these 1,062 people. Man, I would love. So when I finish writing up this grant today, because it's a grant that's due today, I'm going to go into the register and start calling these people, because, man, just if nothing else, thank them for getting me this far, and hopefully getting me across the finish line as well.
Well,
so
it's a good thing that you bring up that you're running for House District number 5, because a lot of people do understand and realize that the best way to help our government to be held accountable and to do the will of the people is to vote. But not always is that enough. And so therefore, getting involved physically at the local, state, or federal levels. Doesn't matter whether you're running for office or whether you support somebody that's running for office. The key thing is to get involved, and it does. It starts at the local level. If we all get involved at the local level in our cities and our counties and our municipalities, the feds have a harder time in trying to control the masses, as it were. We're a free country. Our Constitution is based on of the people, by the people, for the people, that kind of thing. And so, oh man, I'm just really stoked that you're getting involved in the local arena and trying to make the changes necessary at whatever level you can.
Yeah, and man, it's exciting. You're learning a lot of new things. So it's stuff that I would have never known, but it's kind of cool just learning these things and just just going forward. So I enjoyed it. So and I encourage anybody out there to, if you see that things are not happening right, get involved. So okay, so that's it. Oh, now the topic at hand, and I'm trying to get us out of the screen share, but oh well. If you don't see us and you just see the listening of the music, it's because I can't get us out of screen share. But anyway, okay. So this food insecurity thing happening, and I guess they're saying that because of, I guess what we're eating now is food, something about food that was put out there last year from the last year crops, and now we're going into a segment where food is going to be running out, and I'm not sure exactly if it's the meat supply as well, but have you heard anything about that?
There are 5 different phases of famine before a government can actually declare that a country is under a famine or a crisis dealing with famine. And I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm going to try to do this by memory. Stage 1 or phase 1 is where everything's fine. Everything's going along. You're getting the amount of food. There's warehouses to store everything. Phase 2 deals with there might be a little bit of a crunch going on where things are a little bit more difficult, but people can still pull from other resources. That includes preparedness, using different things. Survival food stores, this kind of thing, to get some food that's got 25-year shelf life, this kind of thing. Phase 3 deals with the fact that these food supply chain shortages really start ramping up, and that's kind of where we start today because of the fertilizer shortages. So a lot of people would say that even a first world country like the United States of America would be classified in this scale under phase 3. Phases 4 and 5 deal more with the famine issue. When you hit phase 4, people start skipping meals. Maybe they eat once a day, maybe they eat once every couple of days. And then you start getting some more sickness going on because there's not adequate nutrition. And phase 5 is a catastrophic failure of all of the supply chains that deal with food, and where you've got 20% or more of your population within a country that is going without food. It's going to affect children most, obviously, because they are developing and they're still growing. So, it's something that's certainly down the pike. Some would say It's coming in the next couple of months. Be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. Well, what do you do when you are on a fixed income and you cannot prepare? Well, we have the power of prayer. I mean, that is the best that we can do at this stage, whether we're in phase 3, 4, or 5. I have seen physically God's hand on things. That's all I can say about that. I mean, like, I have fed people on one package of hot dogs, one can of tuna, and fed a family of 6 people on it. Or, I wouldn't say a family, maybe my friends, 6 people. I mean, I've seen this. I know that it works. I know God's hand on it. So the main thing is to not give up hope. I've missed a lot of meals in my time. I've lost 40 pounds at one time, and I'm just barely gaining that weight back and getting healthy. But oh yeah, I know what it's like to fast, and I know what it's like to starve. And it is not any fun, but I do also know that God was with me through it. Hey, you got the screen share to go bye-bye.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I did. Yeah. But yeah, I was just thinking about the people at that Mar-a-Lago resort, and I think they said the top hotel was like $500 I think a night or something like that. And they said that there was enough wealth out there that they could have easily put up all 48 of those people for a year and show how much they so-called care about the illegal immigrants, but they chose to show them the door rather than show them who they I guess they did show them who they really were. And so it's like,
And that's one thing that's really interesting, because Martha's Vineyard could have really stepped up and housed these folks, whether they're there illegally, whether they were bused there because it doesn't matter. They could have stepped up and they chose to not.
Yeah. And so and I've been to the food banks and stuff like that, and it was kind of interesting, and especially like getting vegetables and stuff like that. And I think vegetables is the last thing a lot of people get. They get a lot of the box food and stuff like that. So they were happy to see someone who liked vegetables and take it because it's just gonna be here the next week if you don't.
That's right.
It's and then I guess during the pandemic, I guess there was long lines of just regular middle class people in food lines, which that was kind of interesting.
Yes.
To hear about. And I remember and then since young people are rushing towards socialism, before the fall of the Soviet Union back in the day, people who were just average people would stand in long lines for a piece of bread, just anything. And then when it was all gone, the shop owner would come out, put a sign up, maybe at 2:00 in the afternoon, say, "No more. There's no more food here."
Yeah.
And then that would be it. If you're hungry, if you didn't get in, then you have to go home and be hungry another day. And that happened, within our time. And if you meet people, if you know anybody that speaks English and stuff like that from that era and that country, you could talk to them. Or if you have parents, which they would be close to 100 years old, that lived through this depression, because I know my mother was born in 1923, and so they just have a certain way of seeing life and holding on to things sometimes, and making sure that you're never hungry, kind of thing, because they experience that.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. There are still books out there where you can forage for your own things, even though the cities may not be the best place to get them because of contamination to our environment and this kind of thing. But, people are going to start becoming really interested. Everybody, go to this place and purchase gold. Go to this place and purchase silver. That's fine, well and good, but you can't eat gold or silver. And one of the commodities that's going to be a commodity of the future is going to be food, seeds. In particular, seeds are going to be super important, especially with the one-time creation foods that we've locked ourselves into with genetic modified organics.
Yes. And speaking of, let me ask you this, guys. I mean, I'm making chili today, chili with beans, pinto beans. And I got this chili powder, but it doesn't smell like the chili that I get at stores or at restaurants. Is there a special chili that you can recommend that I can go get? Speaking of food, does it have cummins in it, or what's that? That the Indians
it's called cumin, or comino. It's the seed of the cumin powder. You can use that stuff, and it will spice up your chili, whether you're making a red chili or even a green chili. It's quite good, and it's good for you as well. You did bring up a very valid point too. The stuff in the stores that we're getting nowadays isn't the same stuff that we were getting even a few years ago. So do watch for different things as you can, folks out there. As shrinkflation starts taking place, when you watch your food, begin to decrease, they're going to start using substandard items to create this food. And some of the stuff that's on the top of the ingredients list, you're going to see that start to be replaced with other ingredients. Some of that bugs, some of that honestly being bugs. And if you're done breeding bugs, that's okay. I understand. But there are those of us that are really concerned about ingesting of what's called chitin. That's the exoskeleton within the bugs. Some actually truly believe that causes an allergenic reaction within the human body. Some believe that too much of that stuff will indeed start messing with our immune systems. There are scientific studies which are being memory holed and buried. Speaking of censorship, so definitely watch and do your research, your due diligence as much as you can, and do that with other search engines. Google is fine. It's wonderful. And we love our benevolent overlords at YouTube.
Yeah, start page is another good searcher, because Google will tell you one thing, and then the start page will tell you the truth.
And there is no substitute from actually getting outside and going to a library and get some books, some hard copy of these books. They're not going to be able to censor everything all of the time and remove all the facts from us. And bottom line is, we have to be researchers and we have to do our own due diligence. We cannot trust somebody to just give us the information anymore.
And I just heard a story. I now remember the story with Kanye West. And I guess he was on this podcast, and he was saying that the thing that he likes to do less is read. He said he claims that he's never read a book.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking like, wow, but you write your lyrics down, and the lyrics are probably written somewhere where, I gotta research that to see if rap words are written down. But I just thought that was so amazing. And then he created a school foundation for kindergartens and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, I hope, they're not telling these kids, hey, you don't need to know how to read. The one who put out the money for this school didn't learn it doesn't read. So why should you? I don't know. I just think reading is important. Braille reading is important. Print reading is important. And then you can read it in an analytical way. So I don't agree with Kanye West with saying that, reading is not important, or maybe just a less thing that he finds enjoyable. I guess, he does like talking to people, which I can agree with that, but I like reading as well. So
I love to read. There's no substitute for words under my fingers because I read Braille as well. Oh man, there's nothing better. And I did notice that during the pandemic, Braille kind of went away. You can definitely see when you try to order a Braille book from one of the Braille libraries out there that they'd much rather send you a digital PDF. And hey, do you have a Braille display? Because you know our books are limited now. So do you have a Braille? In fact, I've heard that they are starting to give away Braille displays to the blind community. They're not.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'll have to do some research on that, and I'll get
Should
back.
I'll put that on my computer because I definitely I might grab the book, but if I had it on a Braille display, I could just move down and then read it with one hand and move down. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Dude, I like that. I like that.
It is fascinating. I know we're a little bit over, folks, and thank you guys for staying with us. We did want to kind of cover this appellate court decision that was upheld in Texas dealing with censorship. And, what have you found out about that, Johnny?
Well, that this law was passed in Texas that you can't demonetize someone or do these crazy things that YouTube has been doing to people unless they are selling drugs or sex trafficking, right? Or saying something like they will kill somebody, whatever. You can't demonetize them. And this bill that was passed says that you can go back and sue, and when you win, YouTube has to pay your legal fees for their frivolousness in treating you this way. And Mike Johnson, he just sent me an email saying he doesn't think that this YouTube thing is going to be around in the next 2 years.
It very well could be, but for the length of time that our benevolent overlords watch over and purvey and gatekeep the information, I was thinking, let's work with them. Let's be friends. Let's extend to them the olive branch. And, most assuredly, if they believe that we shouldn't use things, even if we got permission to use them, well, by golly, that's just fine with us because, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But check this out. If you want to see certain pieces of information that we have and that we'd love to bring to you, we have other ways to get it to you through fm.com and on other platforms that are more friendly to freedom of speech.
Yeah, Rumble.
Rumble.
The Live, Getter. Because I share my show with that. And then, of course, True Social. So there's other platforms. This will not be around forever. So make your money while you can, because we the people will get tired of your censorship, and we'll move on.
Well, I will say, just in final here, there's 11 million odd blind folks within the United States alone of work age between 16 and 65. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if you've had any better luck, but I can't get an accurate count as to what our unemployment rate is, because some say it's 60%. Others say it's higher than that, and even as high as 90%. The bottom line is this: if any other demographic of society enjoyed even a 60% unemployment rate, there would be consequences. There would be people running around freaking out because just imagine you're a sighted person. You can see, you can drive your car, you can do these things, but you can't get a job. 60% of you. What would you, just think about what would you do if 60% of your people were unemployed, or 70 or 80 or 90? What would you do? We the blind have been conditioned to sit on our astrological signs all the livelong day and collect a pittance with our Social Security. Now we're grateful. We love it. It's not, well, I can't even say we love it. We're
Yeah.
great, but a lot of us would much rather just be productive members of society. And platforms like YouTube give us this opportunity to monetize content and to literally get paid for doing something that we love. And a lot of that is, at least for Innervision FM, bringing grassroots musicians, whether they be physically disabled or financially challenged or both, bringing those folks to you, the average public that just likes to hear some music. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and I was just thinking as well. It seems to be weird that the one of the rules is like, if you play like feature their music, you can interview them, but if you feature their music, they give you some kind of copyright strike. And I just found out why we got a copyright strike. I moved my music from TuneCore over to DistroKid, and they brought TuneCore brought no, it was not a strike. It's just a copyright warning or whatever. And so they can monetize it if it blows up, they can be part of the monetization of it, which that is kind of weird because YouTube says even if they give you permission, you can't do it. But why can TuneCore get monetization when we can't? That is kind of interesting. So anyway, so we're gonna make a video to them and talk about this. And also iHeartRadio, I just saw their concert. It was their festival, iHeart Festival, Friday and Saturday night, and I saw it on YouTube. A variety of artists on there. Now, why can the big boys do that and us who are not as big as them not do that?
Well, I've been fortunate enough, because I've been working for you for a little while, to go through a few seminars that you and I were invited to and things virtually. And the bottom line is, without getting into a big explanation, it's a situation where if you don't toe the line, they don't want you in. There's a gatekeeper mentality going on. And, if certain things don't fit the narrative, you're going to enjoy being canceled. And that's just the way it is. And if we people enjoy that, well, then we might as well just go ahead and enjoy our servitude. But if it's something that we're not so enamored with, then we do need to help people to understand that this is a planet. We live on a planet where ideas and a free exchange thereof is important for societal growth.
Yes, definitely. So, and when I get to the HT5 election and get elected, I am going to sponsor a bill similar like the one in Texas for Denver, Colorado, and hopefully we'll get out this polis. And we'll get out, Michael Hancock, and we can change from blue to purple to red. It won't happen overnight because this didn't happen overnight. And matter of fact, I got to tell you that I canceled a doctor's appointment because Michael Hancock and Polis is still running the city. They wanted to require that I wear a mask because I was going to do my blood testing and all that kind of stuff to see what vitamins I was like. But I can go to another place and just pay them $90 and get the same thing done. So I canceled my thing and I said, I just wrote him an email saying, mask, really? And then just went into him about these lying bureaucrats that are telling us to do unconstitutional things. And because a lot of us don't know what constitutional, we just rolled over like nobody's business. And the ones who do know the Constitution, they looked around and said, what's going on? Do you guys know that we're free, not because man makes us free, because God has given us the right to be free?
That's a very good point. Now, also experienced this just yesterday when I had to go for my annual physical. I had to wear a mask, but I chose to go ahead and pick my battle, and that wasn't a battle I wanted to go into with them. So
Right.
I went ahead and I went in there with my little face diaper, and I was a good little doobie.
Mm.
But I will tell you, it was interesting because the the idea being, okay, well, do you want this thing or do you want that thing? Meaning the vacation package word. And I said, well, no, I think I want to hold off on that one. And then they asked me about tetanus, I think. They said, well, do you want to get a tetanus shot? And I said, well, sure, I'll get that. Just in case.
Mhm.
So they said, okay, fine. So they sent somebody in to give me the tetanus shot, and said, hey, check this out. We can't give it because Medicare is not going to go ahead and cover that in the clinic. Now, you might be able to get it through your pharmacy. And I thought to myself, well, how interesting, because they would have certainly covered the C19 vacation package
Mm.
thing,
Mhm.
the jabberdoodle, but they can't cover a tetanus shot. I'm very
That
confused.
is that's very wild.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Hmm. So, once again, picking winners and losers, and if you want this treatment, then you have to take this other treatment. I just heard this today. I got to put it out there because I'll forget it for our next show. And oh, by the way, when we put it on 56, they don't do a time constraint anymore. So the show could be as long, and then they just put on fillers.
Oh, fat.
So that's really cool. It's a guy named New York Joe. Joe. I forgot. He's from the Bronx, whatever. But he was saying that, okay, remember when the governor was ordering all these ventilators and
Yes.
all these the stuff to wipe your hands?
Yes.
Well, they went into the prison and they had prisoners, make all these bottles, to mix up the chemicals to make all these hand sanitizer sprays. But then the demand went out, and so they had to put it in a warehouse. But then they found out the warehouse was, it was just flammable. So then they put it like in a football field type of situation. So now it's going to cost millions of dollars to get rid of that. Now, let me tell you this. All those ventilators that New York said, we need those ventilators, we need them. They got about was it 9,000 or 900 ventilators, which was $30,000 a pop. And they found out that they only used 140 because the hospitals had already bought theirs. So they had all these ventilators with batteries, which are now, the batteries are obsolete because the batteries have a life shelf time. Now they have to destroy all these ventilators. And one last thing, remember at the convention center, it was $65,000 it's hard for me to believe that it was a day. I want to say it's a week, but it was $65,000. I remember that number. And Polis was taking that money out of the federal money, spending it like it was water. That was here in Denver, that Governor Polis was spending $65,000, I believe, a day, keeping this maintenance hospital open for any overruns in the C19 product, and it never happened.
Wow.
And he kept it open for like a good 9 months before he closed it down.
Wow.
Remember that when you go vote.
That's it. That's exactly right. Remember these things when you go cast your ballot. It's important. There's never been more important of a time to reassess what is a Democrat, what is a Republican, what is an independent voter, what is all this? Like, what do I believe, and what do my fellow friends, neighbors, constituents, whatever believe? And for people like in your position who is actually running for office, what is it you believe? And are you willing to stick to your guns and that kind of thing? That's the most important thing to remember is for all of us. Are we willing to stick to our guns at all costs and peaceably try to make change within this society of ours that appears to be going through some growing pains?
Yes.
Some would say it's collapsing and all that kind of thing. I don't do the doom and gloom so well. I go there, but I don't stay there. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Put a smile, keep happy.
We've awakened. We've taken the red pill, and let's not go back to the blue pill, because that's never a good place to be. And just think positive thoughts. Keep your prayer life up. Oh, and I'm reading the book of Hebrews now. So we finished the Corinthians. We'll finish it off on a chapter. Well, Corinthians 2, chapter 13. Now I'm in Corinthians. I'm up to chapter 2 now, going into chapter 3. And it used to be hard when I used to read Hebrews back when I was in my mid 30s. And then you just keep reading it, and then you ask the Holy Spirit to open your mind and spirit. And now, hey, it's a piece of cake.
It is. It does become easier to lift that sword, which is the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. It does get easier the more that you get into it and the more that you read it. And when you pray for understanding, you will get revelation knowledge given to you directly by God through the power of the Holy Spirit, that Jesus Christ is Lord, and he did indeed come to save us and to give us eternal life. And he is the only Savior. He's the only way, the truth, and the life, and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go in the Wayne Debris, because I always get some very good insights out of him. And so I encourage you guys to go over on Getter or Rumble and watch Wayne Debris broadcast live in the next 6 minutes.
Oh,
so
wow.
anyway, we're gonna call it a day, and have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next month, because it'll be October 3rd. And wow, how fast a month does go.
How fast a year has gone. Holy moly.
Yes. So it's going to be fantastic, and have a fantastic weekend. Get out and do stuff, and enjoy your life. And hey, God willing, we'll see you next week.